Well, welcome or welcome back. Today we are looking at the books of 2022. The 5 best books and the 5 worst books according to the spreadsheet that I've been using this year. I would love to also know which ones have come up at the top of your reading list if you're going by a spreadsheet numerical or just rating food. I wanted to say food. It's not working. Feelings-based ratings, because I was doing that earlier in the year too, but I wanted to try to be more analytical about it instead of just being like, oh my god, I loved it, it's 5 stars. So I did try to switch to the spreadsheet. Let's dive right into it, and I hope you'll let me know in the comments what 5 books, or however many, what are your best books of the year? And if you want to say the worst, we could say the worst too. Let's see, start with the best books. Yes, so the reason I had to say 5 is because the one that made it to the top of the list with 4.75 stars average over all 4 books out is, of course, the Stormlight Archive that I read all in 2022. I've read books 1 through 4 this past year. Finally did it. And yeah, I was surprised that, apparently I rated the first book of 4.25 or 4. But that's the way I felt, so I was like, okay. That's what we did, apparently. And that was all the way back in January, I think. I don't know. For those of you who have not heard of the Stormlight Archive, though, by Brandon Sanderson, this is a massive epic fantasy world where the magic is based off gemstones and spren. I say based off because they use the gemstones. They hold a substance called stormlight, and the people can take the stormlight from the gemstones to power their abilities. And people are born able to do different types of abilities. And people are born kind of, with this inclination ability, but it's also the type of spren that forms a bond with the person. That is the type of ability they are able to do. Some I'd say are born with the inclination, but at the same time others can receive their abilities just from being by one of those higher up ability people. Like one of our main characters further on in the series, his group of people around him start to also display the sorts of abilities he has simply from being around him all the time. It's a very epic world though, as they are fighting for survival against the other type of people on the planet who use a slightly different sort of magic system. Also to do with gems and stormlights. 4.75, really enjoying it. Can't wait to continue with it. In 2024, I think, is when the next one is set to come out. The next one was definitely, I think, my favorite for April. I think is when I read this one. And that is The Kaiju Preservation Society with 4.5 stars. It was so funny. This one is by John Scalzi. I don't think I said that. It was just so funny. It's a lot of people I don't think liked it because I didn't think it had a lot of depth to it, but I'm not sure this story is supposed to have depth. I mean, it looks at our COVID world and somebody who has lost his job, of course, because of COVID, and also because the CEO of the company he worked for was just a horrible person. And he gets a new job, though, thanks to a college associate that he just happens to run into again during COVID. And he's like, hey, we have openings because somebody got COVID. Why don't you come work for us? And he gets taken to this whole other place that apparently we have known about forever. Inspiration for Godzilla and stuff like that. And these dinosaur-like creatures live there, and our various world governments protect them on this world. And yes, there's so much humor though between him and the friends that he makes there as they work together. And the kaijus, of course, the descriptions of them sometimes can be a little in depth to the grossness, but overall it's just a little bit of adventure, funny, and they have some action in there at the end as things are happening. I greatly enjoyed this story. It made my day when I read it. It really did. The next 2 are both at 4.5 stars, so they're tied. We'll go, I guess, reading order-wise. And that would be City of Dusk by Tara Sim. This one, I loved the world that she's creating here and the varying characters. This one is young adult, and you just see these characters as they have been raised their whole lives in this place where kind of the gods have abandoned them and the world is suffering, but they are the descendants of different gods themselves and raised to, you know, their parents are like, mistrust the other families, you shouldn't be friends with them. But our four main characters that are all part of this generation, they don't. Like, one of them of course does not get along with the others, but two of them are secretly like an item, two of them are best friends. Yeah, and each of their abilities is different and just so cool. I felt so bad for one of the characters though, as she is pretty much trying to save her brother, thinking she's trying to save the world, going down the rabbit hole of craziness, and it's just But yeah, they all are trying to save the world, not knowing that their gods are actually pulling strings on this global cosmic scale of pretty much they're just trying to get back at each other. And yeah, they just they don't care anymore about this planet that they have created. All of the people here too, some of them are from this planet originally, while others are from other worlds that used to have portals open when the gods were wandering about and talking to their descendants. And now people have been trapped on this planet in the City of Dusk because the portals are gone. They can no longer get back home. And it's been a few centuries now, I think, since this happened. And there's still so much hate and prejudice. Yeah. This is supposed to be a trilogy though, so I really cannot wait for her to continue the series. I am very looking forward to seeing where we go because of how the end of this book left off. I want to see where we're going. I want to see how they make the best of what's about to happen. I need answers because we did the world building scale here. Loved it. Loved what we're learning. Loved what's happening. Yes. I want this more. The next 4.5 stars is The First Binding by R.R. Verity. I don't know. I think I always say that wrong. I know. This one though, like a lot of people compare it to The Name of the Wind, I think I actually like this one better. I liked Ari's character better. Similar though to Name of the Wind, we have a character who is telling his life to somebody else. He is still in the middle of his story though. Like the present time, you know, there'll be breaks from when he's telling it, and he is still actively, you know, trying to find something, or actually he's also trying to get away from people. So both sides are very interesting. And we start out when he's very young and what happens to the place he is living. He's already lost his family. He's already an orphan, but he's living with an acting troupe when he's young, all the way into where he does go to school to learn the bindings and his adventures there and how his legend begins. As of course he does start spreading the legend himself. He elaborates on stuff. Yes, you can see where he does elaborate in the past. I feel like he is being a bit truthful though in his present as he's talking about it. They say that, you know, unreliable narrator. I don't know, I don't feel like he has to, because he's admitting, you know, yes, I embellished here. Yes, I did this. I was really this age when this happened. And the first time I ever did this, it was out of a sheer panic, really, and I didn't know what I was doing. And I almost killed myself and others around me, all to save a kitten. So I really like The First Binding for, one, its storytelling aspect as he's telling the story, and also like within the story, the stories of the world and how much they actually mean to the story and how much depth they give and what we learn about things through these stories. I really like that part. I think that did a fantastic job. The stories in stories. Yes, I think we saw so much. I loved it. I really did. I can't wait for him to continue his series as well, and I hope that it will not take as long as the King Killer Chronicles and others of that vein that are, you know, taking forever to be published. Okay, and the last ones of the best 5 of 2022. Okay, would be the Crescent City. I only have this one. I don't have the physical copy of the House of Sky and Breath yet. It will be in at some point in the spring because it's a special edition. And this one will probably go away because I got the special edition of both of them. But I read both the ones in the series this year, and 4.25 stars average for both of them, with both of them together, because that's an average, and my train of thought's getting away from me. Okay, the Crescent City series, though, by Sarah J. Maas, opens up another world, and we have fae, we have angels, we have shifters, a little bit of vampires, witches, mer people, everything, every type of fantasy creature pretty much. And our main character is a half human, half fae, and throughout the book she is pretty much powerless. Her magic is very, very minimal. She does have a power, but her magical scale, because they can scale your magic or whatever, is very minimal. And at the beginning of the book, she loses someone she loves. It's very dear to her. And so the first little portion, you're dealing with her grief and the fallout of what happened. And then something starts happening again. And our second character, Hunt Athalar, who is an angel who was being punished for a rebellion against the archangels. And he's now kind of a detective, and not really a detective. He's used as an archangel's hitman also. And they start working together to piece together what's happening in the city as powerful forces are working against them, against the city, and also trying to recover a lost relic from the past. So yeah, it was a very, very wild ride. I love the world she's creating. Yes, we got a lot of sense of the world. We were given history, and in the second book it just expanded more. And that last chapter of the second book, oh my gosh, if you read it, yep, so much. But yes, I really like the story of this one. And yes, of course, Bryce and Hunt romance happens, sure, okay, that's adorable. Mostly I love their interactions because they're just smart asses, but the story and the world she's creating and the magic and all, yes. And also Crescent City is like a modern city. They have technology, cell phones, things like that. So yes, it's a modern sort of fantasy world, which is different. I have not read as many of those, and that is very cool. Should read more. Most of the modern sort of fantasies are like an urban fantasy, and this just has a different feel because you are learning about the world since things happened, and yet you still have all these fantastical sorts of creatures. So yes, I really, really enjoyed this one. On to the worst of 2022 list, and this one, it made me question sometimes whether or not I still liked YA. But let's start from the top of it and work our way down to the worst one, since that's what we did on Best 2, I guess. So, the first of the list is a 3.25 stars, and it is The Age of Ash, which is the first in the Kithamar Saga series by Daniel. It starts with an A. You'll see the cover. So, this one, it takes place in the city of Kithamar, where the classes are your rich or you're pretty poor. They have like a small merchant thing, but a lot of the merchants, the ones that own shops and bring in goods and stuff, they're kind of in the rich district too. And they're very religious based too. They have this religion, and you see from, I don't even remember. I remember I did not like it so much because it was just so much time spent on atmospheric stuff, describing the scenes, describing how things felt. It was just too much. Like, the story was buried in details of what's around you. Mm-hmm. 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 And apparently the city itself became a character at one point. That'll be explained in a later book that I probably will not read because I don't know. I felt drugged down by this book. Maybe I'll put the synopsis a little bit right here for those of you who want to read it, because I can no longer describe this book to you. I read it early in the year and now I've just flushed the thoughts away. Apparently, I should have read my summary of this. I did. Did I do a video on this too? If I did the video here, I shall put here. I really can't remember if I even did the video though at this point. Yay, memory. The next two, because it's the first and second in a series, I got the early release of the second book. This is The Sisters of Salem by PC Cast and Kristen's Cast, and the average of both of them was only 3. The first one is Spells, Trouble, and Hex You, I think, Hex something. And this is another YA series, similar kind of to their House of Night series, which I actually kind of liked a little bit better. I at least made it further into that series before I slowly stopped, picking up the next book. We follow twin sisters, though, who are descended from the last, just descended from one of the witches of Salem that escaped. And, they are actual witches. And in the first book, they are reaching their 17th birthday. And something happens, things go wrong. Things go very wrong, and they're left trying to pick up the pieces, of course, all by themselves. They know adult help, as in most of these types of books, except for their cat. Their cat can actually transform into a person, but of course she is a cat, so she still has cat thought processes, even if she's in human form, to try to be their adult guardian. Which that's funny. That is very funny. And even though they're very close, they're very different at the same time. And with the troubles starting, they start to realize and have problems. And that creates more drama. And especially the second book, I feel like the drama that we started with, and the whole miscommunication, and the whole arguing, and I can't trust you, and trying to solve it herself, it just... At the end of the second book, we were right back where we started at the beginning of it, and I was like, no, never mind. I'm not going to keep reading this series. I don't know, I feel like there's just something lacking there, even for a younger age range. Obviously, I'm not in that age range anymore, but I still think they should put more effort into it. They should develop the story more and just make a better book. The next one is also a 3 stars, I think. Yeah, most of the ones here are 3 stars, except for the very last one. This is going to be The It Girl by Ruth Ware. So, this one, the ending, okay, that was the only part that I didn't immediately suspect that person. I didn't see it coming, and I liked that he didn't do like the monologue about why he did it. He wouldn't tell her. But you can kind of guess it a little bit there too. Well, she does put it to pieces together eventually. I just did not like our main character and how she jumped around and did stuff. Her thought process through stuff. How much she's pregnant, and the things she was doing were not, good to her mental health, to her well-being of her baby. Or how the author took her husband's reaction to thing. Like, seriously? Seriously? That's a red flag there. That's a red flag, even, I get it. It's a mystery. It's a thriller. You're trying to cast suspicion on the husband. If you haven't read it, whoops, I'm sorry for that spoiler there. What are our main characters' names? Shoot, and I just read this one a few months ago. Okay, so our main character, the book is in a dual timeline. It is her in present time when she's pregnant, and then also 10 years before when she started college, and she meets her roommate and they become best friends, and she gets this friend group of people that her roommate knew and another girl that just kind of inserts herself into the conversation, and they all become friends. And it shows them in college until her roommate is brutally murdered in their dorm there at the end of the first year of college. And our main character was the only witness and the one who kind of pointed the finger at the killer, and he was convicted based on her eyewitness testimony. So now all this time later, he has just died of old age in prison, and he has said he's innocent this whole time. And she has wondered, and it's bothering her, and apparently it's bothering this journalist, about whether or not he really did it. And now, 10 years later, she's trying to find out, was she right, or was it something else? Was somebody else out there, and there's still a killer on the loose? Interesting enough concept. I really wanted to read it, and I wanted to like it, but I didn't. Alright, another 3-star, but also another YA book, would be The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. I just could not with this book. Our main character is apparently the last water diviner, and you find out in the book she's the last one because the king kind of murdered everybody else. And so she is super powerful and sought after because she can, control water. This is supposed to also be a heist story, as she is recruited by her old mentor, and they get other thievy peoples to go steal the king's magic protection. It's just... And the boy in this story is, what does it even say about him? It doesn't say really anything about it. But he had lived with the other peoples after his whole family was murdered when he was like 8. So he has a type of magic granted to them because he has been living with them and helping them and working for them. It's kind of really, really, really deadly magic too. And he can't control it at all. But he gets recruited by this group of thieves to be their protector, their bodyguard, as they try to go steal this magic from the king and pretty much dethrone him. So it sounded interesting. Execution was horrible. I did not like it. It was so boring. It was just so boring. I did not know if I would be able to finish it, but I did. And I hate that they actually made it try to be romantic between the two main characters, because they were just so good as friends, and through most of the book that's all they were, was friends. And it was great. They worked perfectly like that. Everything balanced like that. You can be friends and still love each other. You can love each other as friends. So why must we make it having a relationship there at the end of the book? And finally, the one that came in at the lowest rating of the year, which I also feel bad because I got it from a Goodreads giveaway. So I do feel bad for just trashing it this much. But it's going to be Mariner's Wake by Adam Marsh. And this is slightly a dystopian type book. It takes place, it's our world, it's future. The mariners here are a group of people who no longer agreed with the government, our government. And so they took out to sea, and their whole civilization lives on boats at sea. They have this whole culture around it. They have a home island that was this unclaimed island. They went to war kind of with America and became their own thing. And now it's just, neutral things. And our main character was a navigator on her ship, and she works her way up though due to circumstances. But the mariners are approached by someone within the American government that said that something from the before has been found by the Russians, or they found a location, and it's in your waters. So we need your help to go get it before the Russians can. And yeah, it's like world-ending proportions, whatever. So they reluctantly agree to help the American government. And there you also see from the perspective of someone who has been captured, kind of blackmailed into working with this Russian type crew. Were they even Russians? I don't remember anymore. Into finding the location and trying to get to this location first. He is a hacker who used to work for the biggest tech company around. That pretty much there is a huge tech company that makes advancements for people. Like, he can do all his computer stuff in his head through an ocular lens and stuff. Yeah, there's just crazy amounts of stuff that's happening. Great potential. Great potential. But it moved really slow. And the things that happened didn't make a whole lot of sense. And the way it ended also. So this was a 2.75 stars. So I feel bad. I do feel bad for that. Because I got it in a giveaway. These have been my best and worst of 2022. I'd love to know what books made your lists of either side. Or just what your overall favorite book of 22. I still can't say 2022 apparently. Of this year. That doesn't work either because you might be watching this next year. Leave it in the comments though what your best book of the year was. I would love to hear from you guys. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. You can check out some of my other videos if you do. And see if you enjoy my content in general. And maybe subscribe so we can see you in the next one. I hope you guys are finding something awesome to read today. I have 2 more books to finish before the end of the year. Though I felt confident that they would not end up on the worst list. So we could do this video ahead of time. I will have to update you though in the December wrap up if either of them actually made it into the best tier. It's questionable, especially with the Outlander one. I hope you're finding something awesome to read, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!